Welcome back to Cars, Trucks, and Detours. When I got this car, it's always had a problem of the key being stuck in the ignition. Since I've got the blower motor thing fixed and half of the dash tore apart, that maybe I can go ahead and get to this ignition thing. The problem is when you put the key in and you turn it on, when you turn it off, you cannot pull the key out. This is a common problem, I believe, with these cars. It is tied in with the shifter down here. Okay, there are actually 3 screws, one here, and then the one I'm working on here, that hold this bottom cover to the steering column. Okay. Then all you do is pull your steering column lever down and ease this thing off. Just sort of work it around and pull and everything, and it comes off. So I believe the power that goes to the little solenoid switch underneath here comes from over in here. If I can get this off here. Okay. So according, if I'm reading my schematics right, this this solenoid here gets its power through this green and white wire here that comes from the shifter down here, and it shows a connection when the shifter is in park, energizing the solenoid on the key switch. So I'm going to take this off and see if I'm getting any power to the solenoid, and if I am, then that means that this solenoid is probably bad. If I'm not, then I got to go down to the shifter and see what the issue is there. So I think I need to take this trim cover piece off here. It goes all the way around the shifter. Things can be stubborn. You can see it's just held on with these clips. I call them pins sometimes. So I believe I should be able just to force this one off down here. And maybe pull it out. I'm to the point now where I want to remove the shifter, and it is held on with 4 bolts. Excuse me, 4 nuts. You can probably see one there, and one there, and then down inside there's one there, and then directly opposite, I don't think you're going to pick that up, but there's one down in there as well. I'm going to use 1/4-inch tools, and I have a long extension with a, what is this, 13mm socket for those nuts. Okay, get ready for a little trouble. These stupid nuts attach to bolts, and the bolts underneath just want to spin. One pair of pliers moves the nut, and the other pair holds the shaft of the bolt. Another way I've found seems to be working a little bit is to take a pry tool, screwdriver, whatever, get underneath the plastic there below the nut and pry up, and while you're keeping tension on that, undo the nut from the bolt. This bolt back here, this end, all I did was hold the shifter, push the shifter over that way, and keep tension on the bolt. I didn't have to put a little pry bar underneath. I'm trying to remove that little connection there. I'll be using my little screwdriver and be prying up a little bit on the connection point right there, and it looks like you can get to that connection point right there from the bottom. Okay, what I did was hold the clasp back with my little screwdriver, and then I took a pair of pliers and I just pulled the connection up this way. Now I'm able to lift the shifter up a little bit so you can better see what the issue is here. That pin right there is keeping that lever held back, which is allowing everything to shift, but that pin here, it needs to actually be up in here, And I need to go and look at the other side, because that's the side that controls the key switch. What has happened is that pin has slid itself back, and it needs to slide back out this way. So you can see the pin is not hitting the micro switch. It's in park position, so it's supposed to be hitting the switch now. So I believe I'm just going to replace this shifter with one from a wrecking yard. At this point, the only thing left to remove is the shift cable. And I take my pry tool, and I've already got it loose. I just got behind it like this and worked it from side to side, and it popped off. Just go like that, and then it came right off. And I believe it'll push back on. So after removing the shift cable, the only other thing left holding the shifter in is this metal clasp right here, and it just pulls straight up and out like that. It's like a big staple. Okay, there's a holder on this side and one on that side, a little plastic ear. So those ears just push in, and then this whole thing just pushes out like that. At this point, the shifter should come right out. I bought this replacement shifter from a wrecking yard. This is from a newer year HHR, and you can see the metal reinforcement for this pin. Anyway, it looks like it's a metal piece or a completely different metal setup. And over here, this is the old one, and you can see how the pin is all in plastic. I have pushed it back and aligned it where it's supposed to be. Like I said, I might rebuild this one and see how it works out. I might change out the gear shift knobs. This one's got the chrome knob, and this is just the stock knob here. This is an absolute mess. I have to clean up before I put the other shifter in. Well, I've got this area cleaned up a bit. Okay, I'm ready to put the shifter back in. This is a newer one. I believe this is out of a 2008 though. Okay, the shift cable attaches to the same spot it came off, and it just pushes on. Stays on there really snug. This piece just pushes into the opening that it has, and then you need to take the metal staple, push it back behind it. You can see that the metal staple keeps those ears spread open that hold the cable into that position opening. This chrome ring just comes off. What I need to do now is get down in there and hook up the electrical to this. Once again, long nose pliers enabled me to get down in there and connect that electrical connection together. Okay, now that the electrical connection is done, I'm going to position the shifter over the bolts. Okay, I just used a knife blade to hold the bolt up while I screwed the nut on the top of it. It's still loose, but I'm going to go onto the one on the other side, and I was able to grab onto the end of the bolt with something like this. This one's probably a little bit too long, but anyway, you need long to get down in there. And then I was able to take the knife and hold the bolt while I put the nut on. On the back side here, I was able to get a screwdriver underneath the console thing, find the head of the bolt, luckily, and push it up. These rear bolts are really difficult, so take your time. Okay, for test purposes, I'm going to reconnect the ignition switch wire that controls the solenoid. Then I just reposition it back up on the ignition, and it's out of the way. Okay, before, the old shifter, you could just shift it back and forth. You didn't have to have the key on or anything. It, as you saw, it was totally out of alignment with the pin and all. Now this other shifter, this one here, the new one, with the old gear shift knob. By the way, I did put the old gear shift knob on. All I have to do is turn on the key switch like that and push on the brake. You can hear that click. That should allow me to shift, and I hear the door locks and everything working. Okay. Now, okay, I've never been able to do this since I've owned this car without holding the little button up underneath. I should be able to take the key, turn it all the way the off position, and I just did, and pull it out. Oh my goodness, isn't that nice? Look at that. So, this repair is finished. I have to go on to the next one. And as you can see, I have a lot of work yet to do to put this all back together. It just goes back the same way it come apart. So if you get into this repair, now you know what you have to do. And I'm going to have another video coming up, so make sure you subscribe if you don't want to miss it. And thanks for watching, all you guys out there and gals. Till the next video. Bye for now. I am so happy with this.